What we want is radiant both in-game and in real life. This week we not only went from barely being able to enter onto a site to suddenly being confident fragging as a duelist, but we also made gains that we've never seen before, both in our physical appearance and weight, as well as our rank in-game. Now that we've got the numbers, and the numbers don't lie, whether it's financial, physical, mental, emotional, or even just a specific weakness in Valorant, we can always develop our weakest link. Let's see how much progression we can make. To start off the week, I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised to hear that we have not budged on the 4 AM wake ups. Regardless of what the day holds, I'm going to make sure that first thing in the morning, every single day this week, I'm at the gym. Last week, we brought back the Zasko 2 spreadsheet. I know it's pretty exciting, but now we've got metrics that hold us accountable to our growth. We're no longer going to go week after week neglecting the fact that our muscles are not growing. This week, I'm making the intentions extremely clear. I want the numbers to clearly tell me that I've gotten bigger, that I've gotten stronger. The first thing I'm going to do is improve hypertrophy by having longer rest times and aiming for 2 to 3 minutes. The next thing is to start implementing a bit more free weights as well as my machine exercises to balance both of them. Last week I skipped way too many home exercises, so that's the next thing to get on top of as well. Lastly, I got a really cool comment from Tim explaining that hypertrophy right now is probably limited by a lack of calories rather than a lack of workouts. Our corrective measure? We're gonna eat more calories. After finishing my push day, I get straight home and get stuck into my aim training. Last week, we clearly identified a weakness being holding angles, so that's the first thing that I'm training this week. The goal is to increase our win rate and hit Diamond 3. Last week, we only had a 36% win rate. Unacceptable. We're going to VOD review and take corrective measures immediately. We're going to really try and get those pre-round checks in. We're going to focus on better using the team's comms and not just ignoring them. We're going to improve how well we can hold angles, as well as create advantages before re-peaking. This is something I'll go over later. After completing 10 minutes per side of holding angles, I'll hop into a custom game. The main focus was crosshair placement while peaking, as well as just getting a bit more fluid with my movement and being unpredictable. My understanding of where the enemy crosshair would be at certain times was starting to expand here, and I was exploring different ways to try and throw that off. For example, jiggle peeking and then going wide, stuff like that. But anyways, 6 o'clock came and my 1 hour of morning Valorant improvement has ended. But today's meditation was difficult. Something was on my mind. I read a comment that would soon change the entire trajectory of this entire YouTube channel. First Chamber and now Sky. Both are decent agents but are out of the meta and are not optimal for faster improvement. Long story short, I'm now a Jet main, one-trick duelist Jet main insta-lock. It's beautiful. While I get the hang of Jet's abilities, I'm also practicing that re-peak advantage that I was talking about earlier. Peeking into someone you know is holding you is a dangerous task, but you can throw off the enemy's crosshair placement and timing by changing the position at which you peek from. This first peek is as far back as possible, so my crosshair is aligned accordingly, but when he steps forwards and gets close to the corner and then swings wide, my crosshair is well and truly off target, essentially baiting me by getting me to aim at one certain spot but then peeking from another. I'm not going to make the same mistake as last week and try and learn a character in comp, so I play an unrated game. My new job is no longer making space for the duelists. I am the duelist. I'm getting on site and I'm killing everybody. First round ever as Jet and we're feeling it, man. I'm feeling it. It felt like a more aggressive chamber, which it obviously is. But my brain quickly correlated the dash with the TP and I was able to dash at some pretty good times. But incorporating the updraft didn't come so intuitively. The next round starts by accidentally wasting my updraft before the round even starts. We start taking mound control where I hit a very nice headshot before throwing a smoke and dashing in to see who's on site. We take control of the site, but as I'm moving my hand to the right, I accidentally smack my water bottle and right click and waste my jet knives as well. I decide to get a foundation level of comfortability down by just spamming a few swift plays. I was trying to see what previous knowledge I could bring across to this new agent, for example crosshair placement here, but then also bringing in the new twist of aggression, so dashing in and playing a bit like a monkey. As time went on, I started to get a little bit more comfortable. The most obvious thing to carry across, of course, is my aim. We've put countless of hours into aim training, and that's precisely why that comment recommended Jet. Anyways, now that we've got a fundamental idea of the character and how the abilities work and flow together, it's time to take it to the next level. The next thing I do is I go on YouTube and I watch how some professionals play Jet. I learn how they pass, how they entry, where they dash, where they updraft, basically how to apply all the fundamentals that we've learned, mastering Icebox and then moving on to Lotus. It was much easier to find information on Jet, considering it's actually a meta agent and everyone plays her, instead of Sky, who I just genuinely couldn't find anything good on. I not only learned entry pathing, but I also learned some other things like jump peeking with the AWP and some good spots to do that, as well as dashing out of smokes and making use of the shorty. I do all the same for sunset before going and starting the fire. One thing I'm going to do this week to make sure that I don't eat less fat than I'm supposed to is weigh my butter. On the first week of eating burger cheese, I consistently ate 50 grams of butter, which led to 0.5 kilos of weight increase. However, last week I found myself often skipping over the butter and ended up not putting on any weight. I didn't lose weight, so I think I just hit my maintenance calories, but we're going for a surplus here, so we need to put on some weight, get some more butter in us. As you can see, the Jet gameplay is getting better and better. However, I still seem to dash in the wrong direction every now and then. That could be a detriment. Defense half this game, I started to pick up the AWP, which is the first time since playing Chamber, and yeah, I feel reconnected. I really do feel reconnected. I think a good analogy is to imagine a universe where children are forced to wear weighted vests to school, and when they're in the play yard playing tag or whatever they play, there's just that one sporty kid that for some reason doesn't have to wear a weighted vest and can just catch up to everyone easily. That's how it feels for me to use an AWP. It's like, my aim's already good, and now I don't even have to aim at the head. I can just aim anywhere I want. It's so easy. But hey, with that comes our first competitive winner's Jet, which is extremely hype. Moving on to our next competitive game, we're on Sunset. I've got a bit of a game plan, but yeah, for some reason I still dash in the wrong direction. We dash the wrong way. Once again, I found defense half to be extremely easy. I just have to click the body and they die, so that was no drama at all. The real eye-opener to this side of the game was having impact on attack. I felt like it was a massive struggle to really get out there and have impact, so that's what our next point of working on stuff. Yeah. This is going on every single weapon. Next map we get is Haven. This is a great map for Jet, I think. But during this game, the Jet utility really started to click in my mind. Not only was I starting to go for flashier plays where I updraft onto boxes and stuff like that, I was also starting to understand my role on the team. I was orchestrating retakes where I'd dash in as I would on attack. I was taking space and going for those frags that normally I wouldn't do when I've got a full kit of utility to use for the team. I felt like I could just be stone cold and just focus on killing people with no guilt. My job is just simply to cause as much damage to the enemy team as humanly possible, but unfortunately we suffered the same fate. I just wasn't yet able to have impact on the attack side. I wasn't creating space for my team, nor was I even really listening to them and orchestrating attacks with them. And I think that the curse of the Jet insta-lock monkey brain was really starting to get to my head. This is something that I'm gonna have to control if I want to be a great Valorant player. Now further than ever away from our goal of Diamond 3, it's time to relax with mindful sweeping. Dude, why the hell are you mindfully sweeping, you might be asking? Because this week's mental health goal is to become more present and focused in every single moment, to have better control of where my attention is going. As I develop that control in other areas, it will also reflect in my Valorant performance. In order to develop these skills, I'm going to complete multiple tasks each day in a mindful state, trying my hardest to practice my awareness control. I'm going to also try to progressively overload our meditation times, hopefully pushing for maybe 40 minutes, as well as trying to find triggers that are very clear to me as to when my mind needs to be slowed down. Next up on the chopping block, beef liver. Let's get all our nutrition down so that we can focus on the rest of the grind. I decided to start incorporating some midweek editing sessions in order to not try and get it all done in one single day, 16 consecutive hour sessions, not the healthiest approach. However, on the healthier side of things, we get a burger cheese down. As it's getting close to bedtime, we turn on the red light therapy device and I smash out the last of my exercises before getting a good night's sleep. Tuesday morning, 4 AM wake up. If you're familiar with the channel, you'd know that Tuesdays are a special day. Why is that, you may ask? Because every day is a special day, alright? I start off the workout with my free weight side of things, smashing out the bent over rows, as well as deadlifts, they're actually RDLs. Smashing out my RDLs for my back and hammies. So far, these are the only exercise that I've gotten to green plates. Got this sick comment from Sippy Sim, basically explaining that I should stretch my muscles more with each rep. For example, when I do my rows, I should extend my arms and slightly round my upper back when I'm doing my eccentric movements. Brilliant comment. May the burger cheese be on your side as well. By implementing this, I definitely felt more of a stretch with each exercise, as well as more pain, which is brilliant. This is great. After smashing out my lattes, I make my way home and burn an innocent tree for the sake of keeping warm. However, my partner stayed the night, so I surprised her with a warm house and some cacao flavored oats covered in some nice fruit. After a morning by the fire, she left for uni and I get stuck into my first bit of practice for the day. I was making this a dedicated study session where I was going through and watching VODs of professional players, learning their pathing and their entries, considering that at the moment our entries are our weakest point. However, I wasn't just getting more comfortable with entry pathing, but I was getting more comfortable with jet as a whole. Updraft dash, dash updraft, so it was starting to all make sense to me. My playbook was starting to grow and I was starting to understand when I should be peeking and getting aggressive and when I should be taking space. After about an hour of study, I go and smash a burger cheese and get stuck into our first competitive game of the day. For the first time in my life, I purchased a shorty this game and I actually had a lot of fun with it, so it'll be something I actually do from now on. Considering we started off on the defensive side of the game, I'm just whipping out the AWP straight away. The approach that I've decided to take is to just use the AWP on defense and then Phantom on attack, so that we're not lacking in any entry power and I'm actually doing my job. Throughout this game, I definitely did fat finger the updraft a few times, but way less than our first game. Now that we're on attack side, the main thing I wanted to work on was making sure that I stayed confident no matter what. Even if I get headshot first round and I have a really bad time entering, I want to make sure that I continue to push and I continue to plow through the enemy team, or at least try to. A common pitfall of some of my other games was that I would get destroyed trying to enter site, and then I would kind of default to AWPing on attack and playing slow, eventually realizing, okay, I actually do have to enter for my team. But hey, entering for the team is exactly what I do this half of the game. I just start to get creative and try different things, as well as things that I've seen from the professional VODs that we watched. I was making mistakes, but at the same time learning from each and every one. We snagged the win and walk away with some mediocre stats. Our headshot percentage is dramatically dropping now that we're using the AWP, but it's just a number, who cares? The next competitive game that I load into was Bind. We ended up facing a really difficult team. They were really coordinated and just took site with ease. However, as equally coordinated as they were, I was uncoordinated and I didn't really have a game plan every single round. I should have backed off a long time ago, maybe using my smokes to help get off site and playing with my team, but I'm just kind of fighting and just not really thinking about a game plan. Besides the occasional kill here and there, overall the game was not good. I ended up losing my privileges to AWP.
If you could grab AWP, that'd be good. I'll grab that right now.
Can I use it? I think she wants it.
That's messed up, man. That's messed up. And yeah, it was just a simple loss. Simple as that. One key metric from this game is a 50% cast, which is dramatically lower than normal, just indicating a lack of impact that I had. Also, my KD was low as well, so I realized that game really pulled me into my head and I wasn't actually present in the moment. I wasn't really focused, so I hop into a deathmatch and make that the #1 goal. Stop, relax, and just embrace the moment. I focused on my breath more than I did my movement and aim, and I made sure to lock my focus on the enemy's head and just track their movements. With a clear mind, my only challenge queuing into this comp game is to now maintain that. This is a discovery that I've made before, but my best Valorant comes when I'm in a meditative state and every single action is subconscious. In a previous video, I referred to this as the John Jones method, where I practice my skills consciously out of game and then apply them unconsciously in game.
One enemy remaining.
That's bomb. We have bomb.
Round B.
If I make a mistake in game, the #1 priority is to not analyze it in the moment, rather record and VOD review it later. If I start analyzing my gameplay, I pull myself back into my head, take myself out of the present moment, and start acting consciously instead of subconsciously. An analogy to explain why subconscious is better: imagine yourself walking into a blacksmith who is halfway through making a sword. It's glowing red with heat and you grab it. Subconscious is you just automatically throwing your hand off. Conscious is you processing the fact that it's hot, processing the fact that you should actually take your hand off of it, and then taking it off. Subconscious is always going to be faster. It's almost instantaneous. If you don't interfere with your subconscious will do what it knows how to do. And if you've put in the work to master aiming and master the decisions, by remaining in a meditative state, you can consistently perform at that high level. That is precisely why when I don't think about my aim technique and instead focus on the head of the enemy, my aiming technique comes subconscious and suddenly I aim like I do in the aim trainers. You might be wondering if being in a meditative state has helped my entry fragging. No, it hasn't.
Low back that.
I just saw that. Yeah.
But hey, that's where the after hours practice comes in. Let's just keep entering. This game ending up being a draw, I decide to smash out the last of my exercises due for today. I do my back, arms, and forearms because I believe the aiming meta in Valorant is to go extremely low sense, arm aim, and then just shred your arms with pure muscle so they go fast as. I think it's genius. I don't know why no one's done it before. The only thing missing is some plyometrics. Maybe I should do some medicine ball throws. Next, I decided to just smash out about 5 or so death matches, just focusing on slowing down and once again being present in the moment. As a duelist, my focus should be on the enemy's head. If I was the IGL, maybe it's the minimap and my enemy positions. If I was an initiator, it probably is my duelist and focusing on making sure that I initiate for them well based on enemy positions. But no, my job is to kill people, so that's what I need to train my mind to do. Besides that, the only other thing I put my focus towards was just mastering that variation in peaks, and then just taking a break to get some vitamin D from the sun. Our next competitive game, Sunset. Defense side was simply textbook. Couple AWP shots, couple headshots, bunch of kills and a super easy time. However, flipping over to the attack side, this is where things started to improve. It's as if my brain was starting to utilize the countless entry mistakes that I was making, and the pathing in which we were taking was becoming more and more optimal. For example, when we have weapon advantage, I was pushing more aggressively like this, and then just overall playing way better off my team's utility. When we were down in numbers and were disadvantaged in the round, I made up my goal to try and go for some kind of flashy play in order to bring it back to fair ground.
I've got timing.
Does that mean that I would stop pushing if we had an advantage? No, but that's not the point.
Two more. Oi.
The plan was to just play some unrated games, just play with some friends and chill out before calling it for the night, but I ended up having a burger cheese and then realizing I was on my rank up game. So I just wanted to quickly rank up, I'm not gonna lie. I do, however, want to sincerely apologize to everyone for going to bed 10 minutes past 8 o'clock. I know that this is terrible and it will never happen again. I get myself to the gym praying that that 10 minutes of sleep deprivation doesn't hold us back from our true potential, our true leg potential, because today is in fact leg day. Today I decided that calves are actually something worth paying some attention to, so they're added to the gym split. Can't remember if I did that in the last video or if I did that this week. Not only that, but we're doing extensions and curls in a superset in order to maximize our gains in minimal time. As I recorded that line, I genuinely just realized that I should be doing that with so many more exercises. I guess we're gonna do that next week now. After driving home and trying not to run over any kangaroos, I decided to do my meditation under blue light in order to help with my circadian rhythm and get some better rest later that night. I was aiming for 30 minutes, but for some reason at the 25-minute mark I decided to stop. I believe that 25 minutes is the personal record so far, so that's alright, is what it is. The burger cheese that's been crafted before your eyes is actually the last of its kind. The burger cheese is officially banned from being created indoors as it's just simply too messy, and the indoor exhaust simply isn't good enough to handle the amount of fat that comes from this thing, so we will be migrating to the barbecue. Future problems that we'll have to deal with is less accessibility to the fat that we cook in. We're on a fat-based diet here and we need every single drop we can get, and normally I just pour all the fat over the burger and basically lick the plate clean, but we're not going to be able to do that when the fat trays are catching all the fat on the barbecues. So anyways, after finishing the burger cheese, I make my way to a 7 till 10 a.m. shift before coming home and starting my aim training. Because this aim training session is simply a warm-up, I want to be preparing my mind for how I want to play. While I'm aim training in this session, I'm meditating, I'm focusing on my breathing, and I'm simply looking at the target and I'm not focusing on my aim technique at all. This is completely contradicting to the usual aim training that we do after hours when we're not playing Valorant. We're normally focused on our technique heavily, trying to develop our skills, but here we want to warm up. And if we try and develop our skills here, when we go to play Valorant, we're going to be thinking about our aiming technique, and that's not what we want. After finishing my ramp warm-up, I hop on Valorant, and I maintain that exact same mentality. I'm not trying to improve anything right now. All I'm doing is trying to focus on the target, nothing else. If I'm doing something wrong and I'm not performing as well as I could be at a specific thing, too bad. That is not for right now. We're going into battle. We're going into war. Analysis is for the training sessions, not for battle. Even as I play this deathmatch, I'm not thinking about nothing. Everything you're seeing is intuitive. It's subconscious. This is the work of my practice. This is just simply a test of how far we've been able to push our optimized learning speed. How much knowledge and information have I been able to download to my subconscious database? Have we learnt enough jet to be able to perform in a completely clear state of mind? Is our self-awareness and mental clarity good enough to get us out of the depths of diamond and finally see us reaching the ranks of our true potential?
Kills remaining.
Let's get a clean victory, lads. Let's fucking do it.
Shoot one bullet. Sight, close sight. One's... I think one could be flanking.
Some backside.
Oh my. GG, lads. Well played, bro. After those games, we get a typical high impact iris comment, reminding me of the fact that I definitely should be training on a much higher sensitivity, especially my tracking, and that training on a sensitivity as low as my own is simply a waste of time when I could be getting so much more out of that high sensitivity aim training. I don't commit too much time towards aim training today because our aim isn't the bottleneck at the moment, but I do go for a walk. If you haven't given it a shot before, this thing called a walk is extremely easy way of getting out of your head and into the present moment. The trick is to just walk for the sake of walking and enjoy the walk. That is it. Tell yourself that you've got all the time in the world and just slow down. Unfortunately, my walk didn't do a good enough job at slowing me down. Upon arriving home, I had a look and my pay came through. Because of the burger cheese mess situation, I thought it'd be a good idea to go and get myself a barbecue, and this purchase cost me $400. Nothing tickles my dopamine receptors like a good, practical purchase. The intentions behind the purchase were actually very similar to every other impulsive purchase I've ever made. First of all, this will help me achieve my mission in some sort of way. Second of all, I'm going to future-proof it by making sure that I buy the most expensive version possible. Reason being is because if I don't go all or nothing, then eventually I'll need to upgrade, and therefore it was a waste of money. So I have to buy the most expensive version. When you give yourself a bit of time to think through your thoughts completely, sometimes you realize how stupid they sound. But when you sprint to the shops the second you get paid, you don't have the time to do that. But don't worry, surely it was the best burger cheese of all time. No, it wasn't. It came out like an air fryer burger cheese. They were disgusting, and this was disgusting. It was so disappointing. I was expecting barky, sear, grease everywhere, destruction burger cheese of chaos. I thought it was going to be the most beautiful burger cheese of all time. Yeah, so mum and I just cleaned it like it'd never been used before, and I'm going to go take that back and get my money. But considering it took me an hour in traffic to get there and back, my entire night was wasted. 4 AM comes and habitually I get myself to the gym. But this gym session, I was just not feeling it. There was just too much on my mind. One of the biggest things is that I felt homesick. Ironically, I'm living in the home that I lived in before I moved out, but living by myself in the real world, fighting my way through life, conquering my battles every day, and just being the man of the house, being the leader, being the official decision maker, that's where I felt at home the most. That's where I felt like I was living to my truest potential. But because my financial skills weren't good enough, I couldn't handle living by myself. And as a consequence, I had to come back home. It wasn't the cost of living crisis that held me back from freedom. It was my own lack of discipline. It's the fact that now my rent is 1/7 of what it was, and I'm still not saving, and I'm still purchasing stupid things. To make matters even better, despite being at the shops, I was so focused on that purchase, I didn't buy any of the burger cheese ingredients. So I go outside and start the barbecue just to realize that I don't even have minced beef. So you think I would stick to the original plan, but no, for 1 straight hour I just binge watch YouTube videos. What am I doing? Well, first things first, I get journaling and I start to write down why my thoughts are the way they are and why my negative mindset is in play. Because I wasted my time last night acting on an impulse and buying something I shouldn't have, I didn't have time to get any of the work that I wanted to get done on the video. Now I've woken up with a fresh mind and a new take on things, but I'm now faced with 3 back-to-back 8-hour shifts, and I know that these will take the life out of me, and after work I'll only have enough energy to do the bare minimum. From there arose the question of why I made the purchase in the first place. It progressed on to the fact that I've just always done that, and I've always spent money when I've had it, which then became, why don't I do something different, and why don't I make a change? In addition to my pay coming through, in a couple days, my tax return also comes through. I had an entire list ready of all the purchases I wanted to make with that money, but if nothing changes, nothing changes. Everything in life must align with my mission, and spending like this doesn't align. So I'm putting $1,000 into saving in addition to the money that I'm investing on a weekly basis. This brings my total net worth to $2,490, which is an all-time high, as well as taking immediate action on my YouTube binge, as flooding my mind with stimulation and not letting myself process emotions once again does not align with my mission. I added the amount of YouTube videos that I clicked on, not watched through, because clicking on them means I'm just swapping between them anyways and I'm short attention spanning, frying my brain. In order to conquer both of these demons, I meditate to become content. Content with slow progression, content with the passing of time, content with not buying something new every single day, and content with just getting through work and taking it day by day. If I excessively binge YouTube, I'm going to upregulate my dopamine, making everything in life perceivably worse. Dopamine is what pushes you in certain directions, and if my dopamine's being used up pushing myself towards YouTube, then I won't have any more towards work or editing YouTube videos. With all the thinking out of the way, it's time to get back on the grind. For food today, because I couldn't get the burger cheese down before work, I had to go with the cheesy chicken. Chicken's the only thing that cooks nice in the air fryer in my opinion, so that's the only thing I cook in the work air fryer. After crunching out my 8 hours, I was getting tired and I was craving a burger cheese. I don't think it should be legal for the universe to be able to take such a thing away from me. That's my thing, man. Heck, never mind, I think it's actually happening again. It was so windy that no matter what, every time I turned on the barbecue, it was just getting blown out within seconds. I couldn't get any heat going, and that meant no burger cheese. So with that, I throw my hands up in the air and say, you know what, let's just go and refund the barbecue. Getting the money back into my account felt like a breath of fresh air, but also a second chance. Speaking of a second chance, I decided to give my barbecue one after a couple hours of driving, and it treated me well, guys, it treated me well. I was finally reunited with the burger cheese, and everything felt better. But I've now only got 1 hour left of the day. I've wasted enough time. My goal was to see how much effective practice I could get in 1 single hour despite being exhausted from work and a massive drive. Thanks to this comment here from Iris, I do 15 minutes of sprays and spray transfers, just simply learning it as best as I can. The main thing I was focusing on was making sure not to tense up while transferring and keeping good tension management, as oftentimes when I'm in games and a second enemy appears, I do tense up and I grip the mouse way too hard. What I'm trying to be able to do is flow between enemies. See one person, start shooting, and then flow to the second. After my timer goes off, I switch to a movement-oriented focus. I shifted my focus towards moving, strafing, and dead zoning, just trying to time my shots perfectly, come up with some cool new patterns, and just try and create unpredictability in my movement. And then after a little bit, putting more of a focus on our jet movement so that we can master it. I decided to also categorize peeking and jiggle peeking and changing the crosshair placement of the enemy, that whole thing. I decided to categorize that in movement as well and just practice that. Another interesting thing that I hadn't really thought of was also dead zoning with the AWP. So maybe I can get some quick peeks, or I could be moving in one direction, see someone, and then quickly start moving in the other direction to stay unhittable. But I spend the rest of my 15-minute timer just practicing micro stepping, hitting heads, moving cleanly, being unpredictable, and improving. The next 15-minute training block goes directly towards deathmatch. We're just focusing purely on crosshair placement and peeking slow and steady. Once again, trying to stay calm and relaxed with our muscles, but at the same time, putting our focus towards our crosshair placement. Lastly, for our final 15-minute session, I put it all towards studying the game. Learning new entry positions, I watch a VOD in the background of Haven while I'm practicing my dashes at the same time. The current phase that I'm in is learning how to dash subconsciously, but the next stage after that is figuring out which dash is appropriate for which scenario subconsciously. So without thinking, I know exactly which dash to do. For now, I don't even know how to dash properly, so we're not there yet. So I do this for both Haven and Icebox before 7 o'clock on the dot comes, and I call it straight away. I get straight into my stretches, not only clearing my mind, but making sure that we don't get any injuries while training. One week I ended up with hamstring tendonitis because I didn't stretch, so we're not letting that happen again. I do think it's pretty cool that I kind of just said I want to wake up at 4 a.m. every day and have literally woken up at 4 a.m. every day since. Kind of similar to the carnivore diet. One day I just decided to do it. So we're going to do the same thing for every other area of life that we're trying to work on. Finance and YouTube as well. I'm just not going to spend money on anything dumb ever again. And I'm also just going to get my YouTube videos clicked down to like 5 or 10. Let's just do it. At this point in the week, I was starting to get tired and I didn't want to hang around the gym too much. So I actually chose to come home and just do dumbbell workouts instead. Just meant I had easy access to making a burger cheese post-workout, which was very nice. Yesterday I skipped shoulders as well, so I made sure to get them in today. I don't know why I skipped them. Maybe I forgot, maybe I didn't, but either way, I made up for it. Accountability. Because I've got absolutely no choice but to be productive now that we don't have YouTube to distract us. It's full attention every second of the day towards the grind. I've got 1 hour before work, so I'm just going to recreate the same 1 hour practice routine that we did last time. In order to practice dashing out of Smokes' jet, I muted my sound so I couldn't hear where the bots would spawn. I would shoot them, jump in the smoke, and then dash out and they'd be in a random spot. It was pretty cool and I did it like twice. Besides that, I just floated around shooting targets and trying to work on my movement. Upon arriving home, we finished our third shift of the week. Starting to get really fatigued, so refueling is a necessity. While the beef patty was frying, the beef liver was devoured, and I finally got to enjoy some sun while cooking the burger cheese, which is a first. As it started to cool down, I heated up the house by putting some extra logs on the fire. Now that I don't have YouTube to wind down to at night, it's just a matter of reading. The most impactful bits of knowledge that I've got has probably come from books that I've read anyways. I just absorb the information so much better and don't feel like my mind is racing afterwards. Before going to the gym in the morning, I couldn't physically get myself to the gym after an 8-hour shift, and it was because I was just too exhausted. A big part of it is being underweight, but my point is that now that I'm going in the morning and then forcefully having to get through an entire shift because that's what I'm rostered on, I'm kind of forcing myself to go beyond my limit. So I decided to start relaxing with the recording and just trying to get through the last of my tasks. I wasn't planning to record my aim training, but then I ended up smashing this high score out of nowhere, one that I haven't been close to for a very long time. So of course I get my OBS going and it happens again. And then again. And then again, I was laughing at this point. I thought it was crazy. Honestly, I beat every single high score and I don't know how. The only explanation I can give to it is training on 3x my sense. I didn't do that much aim training, so I have no idea where this is coming from. Considering how physically tired I felt, I wasn't planning on playing comp, so I start off just by playing an unrated game. But my aim and movement were better than they've ever been before. My reads were perfect and I was able to make plenty of nice plays. And I was just overall not nearly as impaired as I thought I would be. So I said, you know what? Let's just have a crack. Let's see if we can push for Ascendant 1. First game on, we're blessed with Icebox. Somehow I didn't notice. I probably would have dodged, but the team locked 3 smokers, so defense was relatively fine. I had my good reads. We were able to keep up in score. However, once it swapped over to attack side, we just really couldn't hold it together.
The reads, mate, the reads. Yeah, both.
Yellow.
Ironically, it came down to a lack of initiation. We just didn't have any of the utility to push us onto site, so we were defaulting most rounds and there was just not much we could really do. I walk away from this game as the match MVP with some really nice stats, but unfortunately we couldn't take the win. Unfortunately, this game did suffer the same fate, but I'll definitely cop that my jet on this map is definitely not up to par. Once again, I had a low cast and just low impact throughout the game, reasonably leading to a loss. The only other time where I play some Valorant was the next day, Sunday, where I just smash out a whole bunch of editing. I play about 4 comp games, get some mindfulness in, and just chill out. You'll be very happy to hear that on this day I was playing just as good as the last. The only difference being is I actually didn't have any fatigue from not working. With that, I was able to walk away with 4 back-to-back wins. All our little practice sessions throughout the week started to pay off. Here you can very clearly see that I definitely know how to spray transfer now. Not only that, but it's completely subconscious, so it just happens automatically. As of recording this now, I actually do plan to go over this specific VOD with a coach. The plan is for that to be the first thing in next week's video, and then we take all our corrective measures accordingly. I was really hoping that this would be our rank up game, and it would have been if I played good, but I kind of gave a mediocre performance throughout this game, so it didn't end up coming through unfortunately, but we are so close. Next week, one single win gets us to green rank again, finally. But the final topic of our massive gains this week comes our physical improvements. The theory was if I stayed on top of my butter, got the adequate amount of calories to put on weight, I'd put on weight. And honestly, it was as simple as that. I put on 1 kilo this week. I haven't figured out how to pose for my back yet. Maybe I just don't have back muscles, I'm not too sure. But either way, we did make gains across the board. Every single measurement is up, and up by as much as 2 centimeters. It's also super clear that this week we traded off a lot of training time for actual game time. Whether this is the cause for sustainable growth, or is something we shouldn't do in future, is something to find out. Nevertheless, in no way does it undermine the very clear increase in win percentage, as well as a nice rank up. I didn't do the aim benchmarks, so I don't know how good of an increase there is in my aim. However, when we were doing the ramp warm-up, we saw ridiculous gains. Lastly, we got on top of our spending habits and almost doubled our net worth, but from the second I said that I wasn't going to watch any more YouTube videos and overstimulate myself, I just simply cut them out. So 62 was where I was up to when I made that decision. I ticked over to 63 when at the end of the week I sat down and put my full attention towards finding a specific video to watch. I was extremely picky about what my video was going to be. When I pressed play, I completely committed all my attention towards it, had a notepad ready to take notes and learn from it, and I learned from it, just as you should when you're watching a YouTube video. Hang on. What's the Zasko 2 rating, you might be asking? We're heading to the Zasko 2 rating calculation system after putting in all the details. Our final Zasko 2 rating for the week, 719.4, which isn't higher than last week. What? Okay, so it's because I never actually anticipated that I could go lower than Diamond 3 when I made this spreadsheet. I'm just taking 100 points off of last week as a disqualification because it was using a Ascendant 3 rating. That means the Zasko 2 rating has officially increased by 74.4.